They called him the Ice King.
Do-yoon Choi,
38. Head of the Choi family syndicate. A man so cold, so ruthlessly controlled, that women didn't just leave him. They fled.
ran,
Disappeared in the middle of the night with nothing but the clothes on their backs and trauma in their eyes. I'd watched it happen twice in the 3 months I'd worked at Choi Tower as a night janitor. First, there was Vanessa. Beautiful. Educated. Lasted 6 weeks before I found her in the executive bathroom at 2 a.m., crying so hard she was hyperventilating. "He doesn't hurt me," she'd whispered. "That's what makes it worse. He makes you feel like you're disappearing, like you're not even real." She was gone by morning. Then Jessica. Confident. Ambitious. Thought she could handle him. I made it 2 months before I discovered her at her desk after midnight, staring at nothing, looking hollow. "I thought I was strong enough," she'd said. "I'm not. Nobody is." She quit the next day. Left the city entirely. I was invisible to people like Do-yoon Choi. Just the black woman who cleaned his office, who emptied his trash, who existed in the background of his controlled, pristine world. Which is why I was the only one who saw what he really was. The control wasn't strength. It was terror. Terror of losing control. Terror of being vulnerable. Terror of being human. And the night I accidentally knocked over his private files, the night I discovered exactly what he'd done to build his empire, the night he caught me reading documents I absolutely shouldn't have seen, everything changed. "You should run," he said, his voice empty of emotion. "Like all the others. Before I destroy you." I looked at this dangerous man. This Ice King. Everyone fled. And I said, "I don't run.
and you don't scare me.
Because Do-yoon Choi, I see exactly what you are. And it's not a monster. It's a man pretending so hard to be ice that he's forgotten how to be fire." What followed was war. Not violence. Not romance.
Va.
A battle to see who would break first. The man who'd made everyone run. Or the woman who refused to. Spoiler. Neither of us won. We just both stopped running.
Wait.
She's a janitor who accidentally discovered his secrets, and instead of running like everyone else, she just challenged him to his face about being emotionally frozen. And he didn't kill her? Subscribe now, because this psychological warfare disguised as romance is about to get intense. Someone's walls are coming down. Someone's getting exposed. And it's going to be messy. My name is Pamela Day, and I clean toilets for a living. Not glamorous. Not powerful. Not the kind of job that gets you noticed by Korean Mafia bosses who run billion-dollar criminal empires from the 47th floor of the building you service. But it pays $22 an hour. Has health insurance. Lets me send money back to my mother in Atlanta, who's raising my nephew after my sister died. So I clean. Nights, 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., when the building is mostly empty except for the workaholics and the people hiding from their lives. People like Do-yoon Choi. I'd been cleaning Choi Tower for 3 months before I actually saw him in person. Heard about him constantly. The executives whispered his name like a curse and a prayer. The secretaries typed frantically whenever he appeared, like their lives depended on perfect work. The lawyers who visited his floor looked perpetually terrified. He's not like other clients. My supervisor Rita had warned me on my first day. Do-yoon Choi owns this building. Owns half the city through legitimate and less legitimate businesses.
You clean his floor last.
You don't touch anything personal. You don't read anything on his desk. You don't exist when you're up there. Clear? Crystal. I'm serious, Pam. The last janitor got curious about some papers on his desk. She was fired within an hour. Not by our company, by Choi himself. He called our boss and said, "Remove her."
Now.
That kind of power is dangerous. Stay invisible. I was good at invisible. Had been my whole life. Black woman. Working class. The kind of person society trained itself not to see. So I cleaned Do-yoon Choi's floor every night. vacuumed his office, wiped down his conference room, emptied his trash without ever looking at what I was throwing away. I was perfect, professional, invisible, until the night I wasn't. It started with the women who fled. I noticed because I worked nights, saw things day shift never did. Like Vanessa Kim, beautiful Korean-American executive, late 20s, emerging from Do-Yoon's office at 11 p.m. looking shattered. She'd sat at her desk for 2 hours just staring at her computer screen, tears running silently down her face. I approached carefully.
Mang?
Are you okay? Do you need me to call someone? She'd looked at me like she'd forgotten other humans existed. He didn't yell, didn't threaten, just looked at me with those empty eyes and explained, very calmly, exactly how I'd disappointed him, how I'd failed to meet his standards, how I was, her voice broke, how I was fundamentally insufficient. That's abuse. It's not. That's the problem. There's nothing to report, nothing to complain about. He just makes you feel like you're worthless until you believe it, until you can't remember who you were before him. She'd gathered her things. I'm leaving. Tonight. I won't survive him. She'd left. Never came back. 2 weeks later, Jessica Murphy, white American consultant, early 30s, brought in specifically to handle a major merger, lasted exactly 8 weeks before I found her having a breakdown in the supply closet. I thought I could handle him, she'd said, laughing bitterly. Though his reputation was exaggerated. That women who couldn't handle Do-Yoon Choi were just weak. But he doesn't break you through cruelty. He breaks you through perfection. Through making you think that if you just try harder, work smarter, be better, maybe he'll acknowledge you're human. But he never does. Because to him, people aren't human. We're just functions. Tasks. Things to be optimized or discarded. Why don't you report him? For what? Being excessively high standard? For expecting excellence? There's nothing illegal about what he does. Nothing even technically abusive. She'd wiped her eyes. He makes you disappear from the inside out. She'd quit the next morning. And I'd started paying attention. Started noticing that Do-Yoon Choi never raised his voice. Never made inappropriate advances. Never did anything that would qualify as harassment. He just existed in perfect, icy control while everyone around him slowly crumbled. Why doesn't anyone stand up to him? I'd asked Rita. Because he's untouchable. Professionally, legally, personally. The women who work for him are ambitious, brilliant, strong. But something about Do-Yoon Choi just breaks people. It's like he's so controlled, so perfectly emotionless, that being near him makes you feel insane for having feelings at all. Has anyone ever challenged him? A few tried. They don't work here anymore. Rita had looked at me seriously. Pam, I know you see things working nights. But whatever you're thinking, don't. Do-Yoon Choi isn't someone you can help or fix or change. He's an absence pretending to be a person. And the best thing you can do is stay out of his way. I'd meant to follow that advice. Really, I had. Until the night everything changed. It was 2:37 a.m. on a Thursday. I was cleaning Do-Yoon's office. Massive space, floor-to-ceiling windows, furniture that probably cost more than my annual salary. Everything is perfectly arranged. Not a paper out of place. The kind of sterile perfection that felt more like a museum than a workspace. I was dusting his bookshelf when my elbow caught a stack of files I hadn't noticed. They fell. Papers everywhere.
Shit. Shit. Shit.
I dropped to my knees, scrambling to gather them before anyone noticed. Before he noticed. That's when I saw it. A photograph. Hidden among financial documents. A young Do-Yoon, maybe 20, smiling. Actually smiling. Standing with a woman.
Korean.
Beautiful. They looked happy. In love. Under the photo, a death certificate. Choi Min-seo. Died 15 years ago. And a police report. Homicide. Unsolved. Suspected gang violence related to a territorial dispute. I kept reading. Couldn't stop. Do-yoon's father had run a smaller criminal organization. Nothing like what Do-yoon controlled now. His fiancée, Min Seo, had been killed in retaliation. A message. A warning. Do-yoon had responded by systematically destroying everyone responsible. Then he'd built an empire so large, so terrifyingly efficient, that no one would dare threaten him again. But in building that empire, he'd eliminated every soft part of himself. Every vulnerability. Every human emotion that could be used against him. He'd become ice. Deliberately. As protection. You're reading my files. I jumped. Dropped the papers. Looked up to find Do-yoon Choi standing in his office doorway. I should have run. Should have apologized. Should have done anything other than what I did. Instead, I stood. Held up the photograph.
She's why you're like this.
Why does everyone runs? You lost her and decided never to let anyone close again. His expression didn't change. Perfect control. You should leave.
Now.
Before I have you fired. You won't. You're very confident for someone who just violated multiple confidentiality agreements. You won't fire me because if you were going to, you'd have done it already. You have called security. Had me removed. I moved closer. Probably stupid. Definitely reckless. But you're curious. You're wondering why I'm not running like everyone else. I don't wonder about janitors. Liar. You wonder about everyone. That's why you're so controlled. You're constantly analyzing, calculating, figuring out how people will hurt you so you can hurt them first. Something flickered across his face.
Anger? Surprise?
It was gone too fast to identify. You know nothing about me. I know you've driven away every woman who's tried to get close in the past 3 months. I know they don't run because you're cruel. They run because you make them feel like they don't exist. Like they're just objects in your perfect, controlled world. I set down the photograph. But Do-yoon Choi, here's what you don't know about me. I've been invisible my entire life. I'm a black woman who cleans toilets.
No dices me.
Nobody acknowledges me. I'm already a ghost. Your point? My point is you can't make me disappear, because I was never really here to begin with. So your whole strategy of emotional erasure? It doesn't work on someone who's already erased.
He stared at me.
Really looked at me for the first time. You're either very brave or very stupid. Probably both.
But Do-yoon, you should know something.
I'm not running. I'm not quitting. I'm going to keep showing up. Keep cleaning your office. Keep existing in your space. And maybe you'll finally learn that people having emotions around you doesn't make them weak. It makes them human. And you think you can teach me that? A janitor with no education, no power, no understanding of my world.
No.
I think you'll teach yourself. Once you're forced to acknowledge that someone exists who doesn't need your approval, doesn't want a validation, and can't be erased by your indifference. I walked past him, out of his office, down to the elevator. My hands were shaking. I'd just committed career suicide. Probably actual suicide if the rumors about the Choi organization were true. But I'd also just done something no one else had done. I'd made the Ice King feel something, even if that something was just irritation.
I didn't sleep after that night.
Went home to my tiny apartment, stared at the ceiling for 4 hours, and wondered if I'd be fired before my next shift or just disappeared quietly. Rita called at 3 p.m. What the hell did you do? What do you mean? Do-yoon Choi's assistant called our boss this morning. Said you need to be reassigned. Specifically requested you continue cleaning his floor but report directly to his office at the start of each shift. My stomach dropped. That sounds like a setup for getting me alone and what? Pam, he could have fired you. Could have had you arrested for reading confidential documents. Instead, he wants you to report to him personally. I don't even know what that is. It's unprecedented. Maybe he wants to yell at me directly. Do-yoon Choi doesn't yell. That's what makes him terrifying.
Rito Said.
Look, be careful. Whatever happened last night, you got his attention. And his attention is the last thing anyone wants. I showed up for my shift at 8:45 p.m. 15 minutes early. Figured if I was getting fired, might as well be punctual about it. Rode the elevator to the 47th floor with my cleaning cart. Everything is normal. Everything is fine. Except Do-Yun's office door was open.
Lights on.
And he was sitting at his desk, working, at 9 p.m. like he'd been waiting for me. I knocked. Mr. Choi? Rita said I should report to you.
Come in.
Close the door. This was it. I was getting fired. Or worse. I entered. Closed the door. Stood by my cleaning cart like it was a shield. Do-Yun looked up from his computer. You're early. I'm always early. Are you?
Yes.
I've been cleaning this floor for 3 months. I arrive 15 minutes before my shift every single night. You've just never noticed because I'm invisible. You're not invisible anymore. Is that a threat? It's an observation.
He stood.
Moved around his desk. Leaned against it. You read my files last night. Discovered information about my past. Information that most people don't know.
I'm sorry.
It was an accident. Don't apologize. It's beneath you. He tilted his head. You said something interesting last night. That you're immune to my methods because you're already invisible. Already erased. Is that true? Does it matter?
Yes.
Because if it's true, you're useful. If it's false, you're dangerous. How useful? I need someone who can move through this building without being noticed. Someone who sees things others miss. Someone who has no stake in organizational politics or power structures. He pulled out a folder. There's corruption in my organization. Someone's embezzling. Small amounts. Cleverly hidden. But consistent. I can investigate openly, without alerting them. But a janitor? No one pays attention to janitors. You want me to spy for you. I want you to observe.
Report what you see.
Nothing dangerous. Just use your invisibility strategically instead of defensively. And if I refuse, then you continue cleaning my office, and we pretend last night never happened. But Pamela, first time he'd used my name. You strike me as someone who's tired of being invisible by default. This is an opportunity to choose invisibility. To weaponize it. He was right. I hated that he was right. What do I get out of this? Information. Access. Knowledge of how power really works in this city. And he pulled out an envelope. Double your salary. Paid separately, in cash monthly. I opened the envelope. $5,000. My monthly salary was less than $3,000. This is too much. It's exactly enough. You're taking a risk. Risks should be compensated. He returned to his desk. You have 24 hours to decide. If you agree, report here tomorrow night with your answer. If not, we will never discuss this again. I left his office with the envelope burning in my pocket and questions burning in my mind. Why me? Why trust a janitor with sensitive investigation? Why offer so much money? And most importantly, was this a genuine opportunity, or was I being set up to take the fall for something I didn't understand? I called Evelyn at midnight. Evelyn Torres, investigative journalist. Woman I'd been quietly feeding information to for 2 months about corporate irregularities I'd observed while cleaning. Pam, it's late. What's wrong? I need advice. Off the record. Always. What happened? I explained. The files. The confrontation. Do-Yun's offer. Evelyn was quiet for a long time. Then, this is either an incredible source opportunity or a trap designed to identify whoever's feeding me information. I can't tell you which. If it's a trap, then you're already compromised. He knows you read the files. He knows you're observant. If he wanted you to disappear, you'd already be gone. So, maybe it's genuine. Maybe Do-Yun Choi actually needs help. From a janitor? From someone he can't control. Someone who doesn't need his approval or fear his disapproval. Evelyn paused. Pam, you once told me you got into journalism to tell stories about people no one sees. People like you. People society ignores. This could be your way back into that world. Or it could get me killed.
Yes.
It could. She sighed. I can't make this decision for you. But I can tell you this. If you do it, if you take this job, document everything. Record conversations when possible. Keep evidence somewhere safe. And Pam, trust your instincts. You've survived by reading people. If Duyun Choi feels wrong, run. If he feels honest, maybe this is real. After we hung up, I sat with the envelope. $5,000. 2.5 months' salary for 1 month's work. I could send money to Mama. Get David the laptop he needed for school. Maybe even save something. Or I could play it safe. Keep cleaning. Stay invisible by habit instead of choice. I thought about the women who'd fled. About how they'd looked hollow and erased. Then I thought about Duyun's face when I'd challenge him. That flicker of something almost human. Maybe everyone ran because no one had ever stayed long enough to see if the Ice King could thaw. Or maybe I was being a stupid, reckless woman about to get herself killed. I reported to Duyun's office at 9 p.m. the next night. I'm in.
Good.
Here's what I need. He pulled up financial records on his screen. Small discrepancies. Invoices that don't quite match. Vendors who exist on paper, but I can't find evidence of actual services. Someone smart has been skimming. How much? Maybe 100,000 over 2 years. Not enough to hurt us, but enough to suggest someone's building a fund for something. Buying loyalty. Planning a move. I need to know who. Why not just audit everyone? Because audits can be manipulated by whoever's doing this. They're smart, connected, high enough in the organization to hide their tracks. He turned to face me. But they're not invisible to you. Janitors see things. Who works late? Who has private meetings? Who's nervous when you're around? I need your eyes. What am I looking for specifically? Patterns. Someone who's at the office at unusual times. Who has access to places they shouldn't. Who seems different when they think no one's watching. He pulled out a photo. Start with James Seo. My second in command. He's ambitious. Loyal. But ambitious people sometimes confuse personal advancement with organizational benefit. You suspect him? I suspect everyone. That's how I've survived. He handed me a small device. Recording pen. Looks normal. Works if you're within 20 feet of a conversation. Just leave it near wherever you're cleaning, and it'll pick up audio. That's surveillance. It's investigation. And it's entirely voluntary. If you're uncomfortable, just observe and report. No recordings necessary. I took the pen. It felt heavier than it should. One question. Why not ask one of your security people to do this? Why trust me? Because my security people have loyalty to the organization. To the hierarchy. To whoever pays them. You have loyalty to what exactly? Your mother? Your nephew? Your own survival? That makes you more trustworthy than someone who's invested in maintaining power structures. That's a depressing view of human nature. It's an accurate one. He returned to his computer, dismissing me. Report weekly. Here.
Same time.
You see something worth sharing, you share it. Otherwise, you clean and observe. That's all. I started paying attention differently. Not just to offices and trash cans. To people. To patterns. James Seo worked late Wednesdays. Always. Like clockwork. Stayed until 11 p.m., then left. Nothing obviously suspicious. Except on my third Wednesday watching, I noticed he met someone in the parking garage. A man I didn't recognize. They spoke briefly. Envelope exchanged. Then both left. I took photos with my phone from the stairwell. Blurry, but clear enough to identify faces. The next week, I planted the recording pen in James's office while cleaning. Left it under his guest chair, turned on, then retrieved it the next morning. Most of the audio was boring. Phone calls about legitimate business. Meetings about shipments and contracts. But one conversation made my blood run cold. When? James's voice. Soon. He's distracted.
Softer.
That janitor, he's been different since she showed up. Asking her about her life. Actually listening. It's a weakness. Unknown male voice. She's a nobody. A cleaning lady. She's making him human again. That's dangerous. He needs to stay ice. Cold. Controlled. The moment he starts feeling things, he becomes vulnerable.
Weak.
Like before. Before Mafia?
Exactly.
His father understood that emotion makes you targetable. That's why he ordered the hit. Silence. Then James. His father ordered Mafia's death? To strengthen him. To make him the kind of leader we needed. And it worked. For 15 years, Do-Yun's been perfect. Controlled. Untouchable. Now this woman shows up and suddenly he's regressing. Becoming weak again. What do you want me to do? Make her leave. Scare her. Fire her. I don't care how. Just remove the distraction. Before Do-Yun becomes the man he was before, soft and killable. The recording ended. I sat in my apartment listening to it 3 times, my hands shaking. Do-Yun's father had ordered his own son's fiancée killed. As a lesson. To make Do-Yun harder. And now someone, this unknown man, wanted to preserve that hardness by removing me. The question was, did Do-Yun know about his father's involvement in Mafia's death? Or had he spent 15 years avenging her against the wrong people? I reported to Do-Yun's office 2 days early. We need to talk.
Now.
He looked up from his work, surprised. What happened? I played the recording. I watched his face as he listened. Watched the perfect control slip. Watched something break behind his eyes. When it ended, he was silent for a full minute. Then, my father? You didn't know. I suspected. Sometimes. Late at night. The pieces fit too well. But I told myself I was paranoid. That grief was making me see conspiracies. His voice was hollow. He killed her to strengthen me? I'm sorry. Don't be. You've given me clarity.
Truth.
That's worth more than false comfort. He looked at me directly. They're targeting you now. Because of me. Because I've been human? Is that the crime? Being human. In my world?
Yes.
Humanity is vulnerable. Weakness. The moment you care about something, it can be used against you. That's why I became ice. Why did I made everyone run? Not because I'm cruel. Because keeping them away kept them safe. That's not protection. That's isolation. And Do-Yun, isolation isn't strength. It's surrender. I moved closer. You survived for 15 years by being ice. But surviving isn't living. And maybe it's time to actually live instead of just exist. They'll hurt you to hurt me. Let them try. I've been underestimated my entire life. They think I'm just a janitor. Just a nobody. They have no idea what I'm capable of. What are you capable of? I'm capable of seeing things others miss. Documenting evidence others ignore. Building cases through observation and patience. I'm capable of turning invisibility into a weapon. I pulled out my phone. Showed him photos. Recordings. Notes I'd been keeping for months. Do-Yun, you're not the only one investigating corruption. I've been feeding information to a journalist for 2 months. About corporate fraud, money laundering, labor violations. I've been using my access to document everything. He stared at the evidence. You're a journalist. I was a journalism student. Couldn't afford to finish. But I never stopped seeing the world that way. Never stopped documenting injustice. I took a breath. And now I'm offering you a choice. We can work together. Use my invisibility and your resources to expose whoever's corrupt in your organization. Or I can walk away and you can go back to being ice. Alone. Safe. Dead inside. That's not a fair choice. Life rarely is. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, if we do this, if we work together, you're in danger. Real danger. My world doesn't have safety nets. I've never had safety nets. I'm used to danger. Not this kind. This kind kills. Then we better make sure we're smarter than the people trying to kill us. His father ordered his fiancée killed to make him stronger? And now James and some mystery man want to remove Pamela for making Duyun human again? And Pamela's been secretly documenting corporate crime this whole time? Subscribe because these two damaged people are about to team up and take down an entire corrupt organization, and it's going to be epic. Duyun and I spent the next week building a case. He provided access to files I shouldn't have been able to see. I provided observations nobody thought mattered. Turns out, janitors know everything. We see who arrives early and leaves late, who has private meetings in supposedly empty offices, who's nervous when we're around because they're afraid we'll witness something incriminating. I documented it all. Photos,
Audio.
video when possible. And slowly a picture emerged. James CO wasn't the primary conspirator. He was a lieutenant, taking orders from someone higher, someone who'd been in the organization longer, someone with authority to order hits. The voice on the recording, I said. It's familiar, but I can't place it. Play it again. I did. We both listened. Duyun's face went pale. That's Young. My father's former right hand. He retired 5 years ago. Or I thought he did. He's supposed to be living in Jeju Island, away from operations. He's not in Jeju. He's in the parking garage meeting with James and talking about killing me. Young trained me after my father died. Taught me everything about running the organization, about staying controlled, about... Duyun stopped. About not letting emotions compromise operations. He said that constantly, like a mantra. Because he needed you to stay ice. Needed you controlled and isolated, so he could what? Maintain power through you? Run things from the shadows.
Exactly.
I thought I was in charge. I'm not. I'm a puppet. Jung's been pulling strings for 15 years, using my name and my face while making all the actual decisions. So James works for Jung. And Jung wants me gone because I'm making you question his programming.
Yes.
Which means we have a bigger problem. If Jung trained me, he trained everyone in my inner circle. I can't trust anyone except... Duyun looked at me. Except you. Because you have no connection to him. No loyalty to the old structure. You're completely outside the system. So, what do? We investigate Jung. Find out what he's really been doing for 15 years. Where his money comes from. Who else is loyal to him. And we dismantle his network before he dismantles us. How long will that take?
Weeks.
Maybe months. I don't think we have months. They're already targeting me. How long before they escalate from threats to action? Duyun was quiet. Then, you're right.
We need to move faster. Force their hand.
Make them reveal themselves.
How?
By making me appear weak. Vulnerable. Like I'm completely compromised by, he stopped. By falling for the janitor. That's what they're afraid of. That you'll actually care about me and become vulnerable. Then we use that fear. Make them think I'm completely irrational about you. That I'm planning to, he looked away. To legitimize our relationship. Make you visible. Promote you. Give you power. That would make me an even bigger target.
Yes.
But it would also make Jung and James act faster.
Sloppier.
Desperate people make mistakes. And we need them to make mistakes. It was dangerous. Reckless. Would put me directly in the line of fire. Okay, I said. Let's do it. Are you sure?
No.
But we don't have better options. And Duyun, I didn't come this far to back down now. I've spent my entire life being invisible by force. If I'm going to be visible, I might as well make it count. Duyun's plan was simple and terrifying. Make a public show of our relationship. Not real. Just theater. But convincing enough that Jung and James would panic. It started small. Duyun asking me about my life in front of his assistant. requesting I clean his office during business hours so people would see us talking, having me join meetings to take notes when really I was just observing. The gossip started within days. The executives whispered. The secretaries stared. Rita called me panicking. Pam, what the hell are you doing? Everyone's talking about you, and Do-Yun Choi. Saying that you two are. I know what they're saying. It's fine. It's not fine. You're a janitor. He's the owner. This ends badly. Every time. You'll be fired or worse. Rita, I need you to trust me. I know what I'm doing. It's complicated, but it's necessary. For what? I can't explain. Not yet. But please just keep your head down and don't get involved. Okay. She wasn't happy, but she agreed. The next escalation was Do-Yun taking me to lunch. Public restaurant.
Where his associates would see.
Where Jung's people would report back. This is humiliating, I muttered, sitting across from him in a restaurant that definitely didn't have prices on the menu. Why? Because everyone's staring, wondering what someone like you is doing with someone like me, thinking I'm a gold digger or you're slumming or thinking that you're interesting and I'm capable of recognizing that regardless of your job title. He set down his menu. Pamela, do you actually believe the classist nonsense people are thinking? Or are you just anticipating it? I'm anticipating it because I've lived it. Do-Yun, you live in a world where image matters, where who you're seen with reflects your status. Taking a black janitor to lunch damages your reputation.
Good.
My reputation has been built on ice and isolation for 15 years. Maybe it's time to damage it. You say that now. I say that because it's true. Everyone who's ever gotten close to me has run.
Fled.
Disappeared. You didn't. You stayed.
You challenged me.
You made me remember what it feels like to actually connect with another human. That's worth more than reputation.
This is just theater.
For the investigation. It's not real. Isn't it? He looked at me directly. Pamela, I'm not good at emotions.
I've spent 15 years suppressing them. But I know what interesting feels like.
What genuine feels like. And you're the first person in 15 years who's made me feel anything beyond strategic control. My heart was doing something concerning. Don't say things like that. Not when this is fake. Not when. Who says it's fake? The investigation is real. The danger is real. Why can't this be real too? Because you're Do-Yun Choi, the Ice King. You don't do real relationships. You make women run. I made women run because I never wanted them to stay. I wanted them to run. To be safe. To not become targets. But Pamela, his hand covered mine on the table. I don't want you to run.
I want you to stay.
Is that real enough? I pulled my hand away.
Stood.
I need air. I left the restaurant. Stood on the sidewalk, hyperventilating. This wasn't supposed to happen. The fake relationship wasn't supposed to become real. I wasn't supposed to actually feel things for the Ice King. But apparently, when ice starts to thaw, you can't control how fast it melts. James made his move 3 days later. I was cleaning the executive bathroom at 11 p.m. when I heard voices in the adjacent conference room. Recognized James. And Jung. I pressed myself against the wall. Silent. Invisible. Listening. He's completely compromised, Jung said. Taking her to restaurants. Having her in meetings. He's making her visible. That's unacceptable. So we remove her. Make it look like an accident.
No.
That would make him suspicious. Make him investigate harder. We need him to remove her himself.
How?
By proving she's exactly what we've warned him about. A distraction. A weakness. Someone who'll get him killed. Jung's voice turned calculating. The Nakamura family is making a move on our eastern territories. They'll hit one of our warehouses next week. We'll make sure Do-Yun is there. And her. Why would a janitor be at a warehouse? Because he'll bring her. He takes her everywhere now. And when the shooting starts, when people die because he was distracted protecting her instead of leading, he'll realize Jung was right. That emotion makes you weak. And he'll send her away himself. And if she doesn't die in the crossfire, then we make sure she does. Either way, she's gone. And Do-yeon returns to ice, where he belongs. They left. I stayed frozen against the wall, my heart hammering. They were planning to get me killed and frame it as collateral damage from Do-yeon's emotional compromise. I pulled out my recording pen, had captured everything, went straight to Do-yeon's office, burst in without knocking. "We have a problem." He looked up from his computer, saw my expression. "What happened?" I played the recording. I watched his face go from controlled to furious. Actually furious. "The ice is cracking completely. They're planning to kill you."
Yes.
That's the concerning part. I sat down before my legs gave out. The Nakamura hit is real?
Yes.
Confirmed intelligence. I was planning to handle it. Now I know it's been leaked deliberately.
He stood.
Started pacing. Ying's been feeding information to the Nakamura family, setting me up to fail.
2D.
Or, at minimum, to prove his point about emotional compromise. So what do? Not go.
No.
We go. But we turn their trap into ours. He pulled up building schematics on his computer. The warehouse is defensible. If we know the hit is coming, we can prepare. Position people. Turn the ambush around. And me? Do I stay home like a good damsel? Do you want to?
Hell no.
They're trying to kill me to manipulate you. I'm not giving them that satisfaction. Then you come. But Pamela, he grabbed my shoulders. Actually touched me. Deliberately. You follow my instructions exactly. Stay where I tell you.
Move when I say.
Trust me to keep you alive. I've been trusting you for weeks. I'm not stopping now. The warehouse was in an industrial district. Massive. Full of shipping containers and machinery that created 1,000 hiding places. Do-yeon had positioned 30 people. His most loyal security. People Young didn't control. They'll come from the east, he said, reviewing plans. 3 vehicles. Maybe 15 men. Standard Nakamura tactics. Fast, aggressive, overwhelming force. And Young's people? James is here. With 5 others. Supposedly our backup. Actually waiting for the perfect moment to let us be killed. Comforting. Stay in the office. 2nd floor. Reinforced walls. Good sight lines. You'll be safe there. What about you? I'll be down here. Leading. Making sure. Making sure you're visible. Making sure Young sees you being a proper leader instead of being distracted by me. I get it. I grabbed his arm. But Do-yeon, please don't prove Young right. Don't go cold. Don't become ice again just to survive this. I'll become whatever I need to be to keep you alive. That's what I'm afraid of. The Nakamura family arrived at 2:47 a.m. 3 vehicles. Just like Do-yeon predicted. They came in fast, aggressive, clearly expecting minimal resistance. Instead, they walked into prepared positions. Do-yeon's people engaging immediately.
Strategic.
Controlled. I watched from the 2nd floor office. Safe. Protected. Useless. This was what the women who fled had felt. Watching Do-yeon be competent and controlled and completely inhuman in his precision. Watching him compartmentalize danger like it was a spreadsheet problem to solve. The gunfight lasted 12 minutes. Do-yeon's team won. 7 Nakamura operatives captured. 4 escaped. 3 dead. 0 casualties on our side. Clean, Do-yeon said into his radio. Secure the perimeter. Interrogate the survivors. Find out who gave them our schedule. I saw it before he did. James moving. Positioning himself behind Do-yeon. Gun rising. I screamed. Behind you. Do-yeon turned. Too slow. James fired. The bullet hit Do-yeon in the shoulder. He went down. James aimed for a second shot. The fatal one. I threw a fire extinguisher through the office window. It crashed down, hitting James's arm, throwing off his aim.
Do you hold it?
Drew his own weapon.
Fired.
James dropped. Security swarmed. Secured James. He was alive but down. I ran downstairs. Found Do-Yun sitting against a container, bleeding, applying pressure to his shoulder. You're shot. Flesh wound. I'll be fine. You're not fine. You're bleeding. Pamela, you saved my life. That fire extinguisher, that was quick thinking. I was terrified and throwing heavy objects seemed practical. I pulled off my jacket, pressed it against his wound. Where's Young?
Gone.
The moment James fired, Young disappeared. Probably realized the coup failed. Do-Yun's face was pale, but his eyes were sharp. James will talk. He'll give up Young to reduce his sentence. We'll have everything we need. And then we dismantle Young's network. Remove everyone loyal to him. Rebuild the organization from scratch. He looked at me. With you. I'm a janitor. You're an investigator. A journalist. A woman who sees patterns and documents evidence and throws fire extinguishers at assassins. That's worth more than any MBA. He pulled me closer with his good arm.
Stay.
Not as a janitor. As my partner. Help me rebuild this organization into something that isn't built on isolation and ice. That's not how criminal organizations work. Then we'll make it work differently. Pamela, you've spent weeks showing me that the old ways, Jung's ways, my father's ways, they're just slow death. Survival without living. I don't want that anymore. He stopped. I want you. Is that real enough? Clear enough? Before I could answer, paramedics arrived. They loaded Do-Yun onto a stretcher. He grabbed my hand. Come with me. To the hospital? Everywhere. Come with me everywhere. Be visible. Be powerful. Be mine. I should have said no. Should have kept my distance. Instead. Okay.
But Do-Yun?
We're partners. That means equals. Not you protecting me. Not me following orders. Equals. Clear? Crystal. She saved his life with a fire extinguisher? James tried to kill him? Jung fled like a coward? And Do-Yun just asked Pamela to be his actual partner while bleeding from a gunshot wound? Subscribe because these next chapters are about rebuilding an entire criminal organization with a janitor-turned-journalist as co-leader, and I need you to see how this impossible partnership actually works. James sang like a bird once his lawyer explained the charges. Attempted murder. Conspiracy. Embezzlement. Enough to put him away for 20 years minimum. So he gave up everything. Names.
Dates.
Bank accounts. Jung's entire network. It turned out Jung had been running parallel operations for 15 years. Using Do-Yun's name, but keeping profits for himself. Building his own power base while keeping Do-Yun isolated and pure. 35 million. Do-Yun said, reviewing the financial documents from his hospital bed. His shoulder was healing. His worldview was shattered. Jung stole 35 million over 15 years, and I never noticed because I trusted him completely. He was your father's friend. My father's accomplice. They planned everything together. My father ordered Minesio's death. Jung executed it. Then they shaped me into the perfect controlled puppet. Ice with a crown. Do-Yun's voice was bitter. I thought I was in control. I was just performing control while Jung pulled every string. You couldn't have known. I should have known. Should have been questioned. Should have noticed the patterns. But I was too busy being what they'd made me. Too committed to the ice. He looked at me. You noticed in 3 months what I missed in 15 years. Because you weren't blinded by loyalty or grief or because I was invisible. Because nobody watched what I was watching. That's not superior observation, Do-Yun. That's just different positioning.
No.
It's intelligence. Strategy. You saw what mattered because you weren't distracted by what people wanted you to see. He held out a folder. I want you to look at something. Inside were documents. Legal papers. A contract. What is this? Employment agreement. You'd become my chief of security operations. Legitimate title. Real position. Salary of 200,000 annually plus benefits. I stared at the numbers. This is insane. I'm a janitor. You're an investigator who took down a 15-year conspiracy in 3 months. You're a journalist who documented evidence I'd have missed. You're a woman who saved my life with a fire extinguisher. You're qualified. I don't have a degree. I don't care about degrees. I care about competence, intelligence, loyalty. You have all three. He sat up, wincing. Pamela, I'm rebuilding this organization from scratch. Removing everyone connected to Jung. Promoting people based on capability instead of connections. And I want you beside me. As my partner. Truly. Not theater. Not fake. Real. The organization won't accept me. A black woman with no credentials. The organization will accept who I say they'll accept. And anyone who doesn't, his voice turned cold. The ice returning. Doesn't belong in the new structure.
Do you?
I spent 15 years being controlled by men who convinced me isolation was strength. That ice was power. That caring about people made me weak. They were wrong. About all of it. Isolation is just cowardice. Ice is just fear. And caring about you, he pulled me closer, has made me stronger than I've ever been. Because now I have something worth protecting. Something worth building toward. Something beyond just surviving. You're not going to become some soft romantic just because.
No.
I'm going to become balanced. Strategic when necessary. Human when possible. That's the goal. He touched my face. Will you help me? I looked at this man. This Ice King who was thawing into someone real. Someone capable of vulnerability and strength simultaneously.
Yes.
But on my terms. We're partners. Equals. You don't protect me. We protect each other. You don't make decisions alone. We decide together.
Clear?
Crystal. Partners. Equals. Together. Then I'm in. The organization did not accept me gracefully. The old guard, Jung's loyalists who'd survived the purge, viewed me as an interloper. A distraction. Proof of Du Yun's weakness. The younger generation was more flexible, but still skeptical. A janitor promoted to chief of security. It was unprecedented. Suspicious. Possibly humiliating. I proved myself the only way I could. Through work. I reorganized security protocols. Eliminated redundancies. Implemented systems I'd learned from watching the organization operate for months. I also used my network, the invisible workers nobody paid attention to. Janitors. Maintenance staff. Security guards. The people who saw everything because nobody watched them. You want us to report? Rita asked when I explained. To become spies? Not spies. Observers. You're already watching. I'm just asking you to share what you see. Anything unusual. Anything that feels wrong. Help me keep this organization clean. Why should we help you? Help Dian Choi. Because if this organization is corrupt, it hurts everyone. Not just the criminals. The legitimate businesses. The workers. The communities this organization operates in. Helping me clean it up protects your jobs. Your futures.
Rita thought about it.
And you'll protect us? If people find out we're reporting to you, I'll protect you. With everything I have. She agreed. So did others. And slowly I built my own intelligence network. Not through threats or coercion. Through mutual benefit and trust. The information they provided was invaluable. Corruption I'd have missed. Threats Du Yun wouldn't have known about. Problems we could address before they exploded. You've created a parallel power structure, Du Yun observed one night. We were in his study, reviewing reports. The invisible workers answering to you. That's genius. That's community organizing. That's what happens when you empower people instead of just using them. It's revolutionary. It's practical. I leaned back. Du Yun, your old organization was built on fear and isolation. People stayed because they were afraid to leave. That's not loyalty. That's captivity. We're building something different. Something people choose because it's better than alternatives. And if it doesn't work, if people exploit the trust, then we handle it. But I'd rather deal with occasional exploitation than constant paranoia. Fear-based organizations always eat themselves eventually. We're building something sustainable. With a janitor as chief of security and a former Ice King learning to be human. That's
Impossible?
ridiculous? Unprecedented. Perfect. That's perfect. 6 months after James's arrest, we faced our first real test. A rival organization, the Takeda family, saw Do-Yun's restructuring as weakness, saw his partnership with me as vulnerability. They made an aggressive move. Took 3 of our warehouses. Killed 2 of our people. Sent a message. The Ice King is dead. The organization is ours for the taking. The old guard demanded immediate retaliation. Blood for blood.
Va.
Do-Yun called a meeting. All the senior leadership. Me included. The Takeda family believes we're weak, he said. That restructuring has made us vulnerable. They're wrong. But we need to prove it. The question is how. We hit them back, one of the old guard said. Hard.
Fast.
Overwhelming force. That's what your father would have done. My father's methods led to Jung's corruption. Led to 15 years of stagnation. I'm not interested in repeating his mistakes. Then what? We negotiate? Show weakness.
We show strength.
But strategic strength, not reactive violence.
Do-Yun looked at me.
Pamela, you've been tracking the Takeda family. What do you know? I pulled on my files. The Takeda family is aggressive, but sloppy. They've overextended. Taken territory they can't hold. Their supply lines are vulnerable. Their finances are leveraged heavily. They're projecting strength while being fundamentally unstable. So we exploit that instability.
Exactly.
We don't hit them with violence. We hit them with economics. Cut off their supply lines. Freeze their assets. Make it impossible for them to operate. Force them to negotiate from weakness. That takes time. It takes 3 weeks. I've already mapped their vulnerabilities. We just need to execute. The old guard was skeptical. But Do-Yun supported me. We try Pamela's way first. If it doesn't work, we escalate. But I'm tired of solving problems through body counts. Let's try intelligence instead. It worked. Within 2 weeks, the Takeda family was hemorrhaging money. Their suppliers refused to work with them. Their assets were frozen through legal challenges. Their people started defecting because they weren't getting paid. By week 3, they sued for peace. Do-Yun accepted. On his terms. The Takeda family returned our territories, paid reparations for our people they'd killed, and acknowledged the Choi organization's superiority, without a single additional death. That was extraordinary, Do-Yun said afterward. We were in his office, celebrating quietly. You just won a gang war without firing a shot. I won an economic battle. That's different. It's better. It's sustainable. He pulled me close. It's proof that this partnership works. That we're stronger together than I ever was alone. You were strong alone. You survived 15 years. I survived. I didn't thrive. I was ice. Dead but upright. You've made me alive again. That's worth more than strength. He kissed me. Actually kissed me. Not strategic. Not for show.
Just because he wanted to.
I kissed him back. Despite every rational objection. Despite the impossibility of this working long-term. Because impossible partnerships were becoming our specialty. 1 year after I'd started as Do-Yun's partner, Evelyn published her article. Inside the Choi organization, How a Janitor Became a Reformer. I'd known it was coming. Had approved the content. But seeing it in print, seeing my face, my name, my story was terrifying. The article didn't reveal anything illegal. Focused on corporate reform. How I'd helped Do-Yun clean up corruption. legitimate business practices, the economic approach to conflict resolution. But it made me visible.
Completely.
Irrevocably. No more invisibility to hide behind. You're famous, Rita said, showing me her phone. The article was everywhere. Pamela Day, the janitor who reformed a mafia boss. That's you. That's a problem.
Why?
You're being celebrated. I'm being targeted. Everyone who hated my reforms now knows exactly who I am. Every rival organization knows I exist. I've lost my greatest advantage. Duyun found me in my office. Yes, I had an office now, staring at the article. You're upset.
I'm exposed.
Evelyn published my name, my face, my story. I can't investigate invisibly anymore. I can't. You can't hide.
Yes.
But Pamela, you've been visible for months. This just makes it official. Legal. Public. He sat beside me. Is this about safety? Or about something else? It's about, I stopped. Started again. It's about choice. I chose to be visible with you. In the organization. But this article, Evelyn made that choice public without asking if I was ready. Are you angry at her? I'm angry at myself. For thinking I could control how visible I became. For thinking I could be powerful and invisible simultaneously. Those things contradict.
Yes.
They do. So what do you choose? Power or invisibility? I thought about the past year. About the corruption we'd cleaned up. The people we'd helped. The organization we were building. Power. I choose power. But Duyun, I'm scared. Being visible makes me targetable. Makes me human. It makes you human. Vulnerable. Imperfect. Just like everyone else. I thought vulnerability was weakness. I did too. For 15 years. I was wrong. He took my hand. Pamela, you've spent the past year teaching me that vulnerability is strength. That being seen is power. That connecting with people is what makes us capable of great things. Now you need to believe it yourself. What if someone uses my visibility against me? Against us? Then we handle it. Together. As partners. That's what we do. You make it sound simple. It's not simple. It's just true. The first threat came within a week. Anonymous email.
Photos of me.
My apartment. My mother's house in Atlanta. David's school. The message. Back off or we hurt everyone you love. I took it to Duyun immediately. This is what I was afraid of. He read the email. His expression went cold. Not ice. Fury. They threatened your family.
Yes.
So, I need to stop. Need to. You need to do nothing. I'll handle this.
Do you? No.
They threatened you. That means they threatened me. And I don't tolerate threats. He made calls. Within an hour, he had information. The email came from remnants of Jung's network. People who think removing you will make me vulnerable again. Maybe they're right. Maybe my visibility is dangerous. Your visibility is power. And I won't let anyone take that from you. Pamela, you've spent your life being invisible by force. Society made you invisible. Racism made you invisible. Class made you invisible. You've finally become visible by choice. I won't let anyone force you back into the shadows. Even if it costs my family's safety, your family is already protected. I had security on your mother and David the moment you became my partner. They're safe.
Watched.
Protected. And the people making threats. His smile was sharp. They'll learn what happens when you threaten what's mine. I'm not yours. You're my partner. That means what hurts you hurts me. And I don't forget people who hurt me. Duyun's response was surgical. Not violent. Not public. Just effective. The people making threats woke up to find their assets frozen. Their homes are under surveillance. Their every move is monitored. Legal problems appear from nowhere. Within 3 days, they stopped. Within a week, they'd left the city entirely. Did you threaten them?
I asked.
I made reality clear. That threatening you has consequences. That those consequences are permanent. That's not a threat. That's just information. You're terrifying when you're protective. I'm effective. There's a difference. Is there?
Yes.
Terrifying is what I used to be.
Ice.
Indifferent. Destroying people because I could. Effective is what I am now.
Strategic.
Protecting what matters.
There's a purpose now. Direction.
That's because of you. Don't make me responsible for your character development. That's too much pressure. Then let's just say we're developing together. You're learning to be visible. I'm learning to be human. Both of us are learning that being vulnerable doesn't mean being weak. That's almost poetic. I'm trying. Is it working?
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's working. 2 years after I'd started cleaning Duyun's office, I stood on a stage accepting an award. Community Leadership Award for Corporate Reform and Worker Advocacy. Not a criminal award. Not Mafia recognition. Legitimate acknowledgement for the work I'd done transforming labor practices within the Choi organization's legitimate businesses. Duyun sat in the audience. Front row. Watching me with something that looked like pride. The speech was short. I started as a janitor. Someone society trained itself not to see. But invisibility taught me to observe. To notice patterns others missed. To understand that power doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being strategic. From using position, even invisible position, to create change. Applause. I continued. The Choi organization isn't perfect. We still have work to do. But over the past 2 years, we've implemented fair labor practices, transparent financial systems, opportunities for advancement based on merit instead of connections. And we've proven that even organizations with complicated histories can choose to be better, can evolve, can transform. More applause. I'm accepting this award not just for myself, but for every invisible worker, every person society overlooks, every janitor, maintenance worker, security guard who sees everything and is seen by no one. This is for you. Your observations matter. Your perspectives matter. You matter. Be visible. Be powerful. Be heard. Standing ovation. I left the stage shaking. Found Duyun backstage. That was terrifying. That was extraordinary. You just inspired thousands of people. I just told the truth. Same thing. Pamela, I'm proud of you. Of us. Of what we've built. We have built something, haven't we? Something impossible. A criminal organization becoming legitimate. A janitor becoming a leader. An ice king becoming human. Yeah, I'd say impossible is accurate. Think it'll last? I think we'll make it last. Because we're both too stubborn to fail. 3 months later, Duyun proposed. Not dramatically. Not publicly. Just quietly in his office. Our office. Late at night when we were both exhausted from work. Marry me. I looked up from financial reports. What? Marry me. Be my partner legally. Officially. Permanently. That's the least romantic proposal ever. I'm not a romantic man. I'm a strategic man who knows what he wants. And I want you. Permanently. Legally. With contracts and vows, and all the legitimate recognition that makes this real. We're already real. Then make it legal. Pamela, I spent 15 years being ice. Being alone. Being strategically isolated. You taught me that connection is strength. That partnership is power. I don't want to lose that. Don't want to lose you. So, marry me. You're proposing because you're afraid of losing me? I'm proposing because I love you. Because you make me better. Because 2 years ago you were a janitor who read my files and challenged me instead of running. And I want to spend the rest of my life with the woman brave enough to do that. That's better. Still not romantic, but better. Is that a yes? That's a yes. But Duyun, we're doing this my way. No giant wedding.
No spectacle.
Just us. Our people. Simple. Real.
Done.
Whatever you want, as long as you say yes. I said yes. Try to keep up. 3 years later, I stood in the Choi Tower lobby. Not cleaning. Visiting. They'd hired a new janitorial company after I'd been promoted. Better pay. Better benefits. Fair treatment. Rita ran it now. I'd helped her start her own business. How's management treating you? I asked. Better since you reformed everything. They actually respect us now. See us. That's all because of you. It's because of all of us. Every invisible worker who reported problems, who shared information, who chose to be seen. I rode the elevator to the 47th floor. Still gave me vertigo sometimes. Remembering when I'd cleaned these offices. When I'd been invisible. Duyun was in his study. Our study. Working on legitimate business plans. How was your speech? He asked.
Good. Scary.
Inspiring, apparently. How's the merger? Complicated but progressing. Legitimate business is more complex than criminal enterprise. That's because legitimate business has rules. So, did criminal enterprise. Just different rules. He pulled me onto his lap. You know what I realized today? What? 4 years ago, if someone had told me I'd be married to my former janitor, running a mostly legitimate business and happy about it, I'd have had them evaluated for delusions. And now I can't imagine any other life. Pamela, you turned everything upside down. Made me human. Made the organization better. Made impossible work. We made impossible work. Together. That's the key. Neither of us could have done this alone. Then I'm glad we're not alone. Me too. We sat in comfortable silence. 2 people who should never have worked. A mafia boss and a janitor. Ice and fire. Power and invisibility. Except we did work. Because we'd both been willing to be seen. To be vulnerable. To transform. I was no longer invisible by force. I was visible by choice. And Duyun was no longer ice by fear. He was human by courage. Together, we'd turned tables on everyone who'd underestimated us. And we were just getting started. The end. Every woman fled the Ice King. Until a black janitor decided fleeing was boring. I didn't run. I stayed. I challenged myself. I refused to disappear. And in the process, I turned invisible into visible. Turned weakness into power. Turned a criminal empire into something that resembles legitimate. Duyun learned to be human. I learned to be seen. Together, we proved that impossible partnerships work when both people refuse to accept the impossible.
I'm Pamela Day.
Former janitor. Current chief of operations. Wife of a reformed mafia boss. Living proof that being underestimated is the best position to change everything from. They thought invisibility made me weak. It just gave me better positioning. And when I was ready, I turned those tables so completely, nobody saw it coming. Because that's what invisible people do. We see everything. Learn everything. Wait for the perfect moment. Then we strike. She went from janitor to CO leader of a criminal organization, reformed an entire mafia operation, married the Ice King and made him human, and proved that being underestimated is actually the best strategic position. Pamela Day is the most satisfying protagonist ever. Subscribe because next week's story is about a woman who discovers her husband has a secret twin and decides to date both of them to figure out who's who. It's chaotic. It's genius. It's wild. See you there. Real talk. Did Pamela make the right choice staying with Duyun instead of staying safe in invisibility? A. Yes, she gained power, purpose, and partnership. B. No, the risk was too high, safety matters more. C. Both. It worked for her, but wouldn't work for everyone. D. None of that matters because she took down a 15-year conspiracy as a janitor, and that's the coolest thing ever. Drop your answer below. And more importantly, would you have confronted the Ice King that first night, or would you have run like everyone else? Also, Dune learning to be human while Pamela learned to be visible, best mutual character development ever, or should one of them have stayed who they were? Sound off in the comments. This story made me believe that being underestimated is actually an advantage if you're smart enough to use it. What about you?